God is watching them go insane. They thought they could break you. They thought their lies, their schemes, and their whispers in the dark would bury you. But what they didn't know is that while they were plotting, God was watching. He saw every hidden agenda, every false smile, every knife they tried to stick in your back. And now, the same traps they set for you are closing in on them. That's why their spirit is restless, their mind is heavy, their heart is tormented, because guilt and envy don't sleep. They smile in public, but behind closed doors, they are crumbling. They look strong on the outside, but on the inside, they are breaking down. And while they go insane with regret, God is preparing a table for you right in the presence of those enemies who swore you'd never make it. Their guilt and envy will consume them. There is something you must understand about people who try to destroy you, people who scheme in the shadows, people who think they can break your spirit and walk away without consequence. They may laugh for a moment, they may feel victorious for a season, but deep down, guilt and envy are seeds that grow into poison. And when God is watching, He doesn't need to lift a finger to strike them down. He lets their own hearts become the battlefield. That's why their nights are sleepless, their smiles are forced, and their peace is gone. Because guilt is a prison, and envy is a fire that never stops burning. While they thought they were putting you in chains, they didn't realize they were building the walls of their own cage. You see, guilt has a way of eating at the soul. It whispers when the room is quiet. It haunts when no one else is around. The very people who tried to hurt you, the ones who lied, the ones who betrayed, the ones who rejoiced at your struggles, God lets their own conscience remind them of what they did. They can try to silence it with distractions, with noise, with fake victories, but deep down they know they were wrong, and that guilt festers. It twists their thoughts. It turns into fear that maybe one day the truth will come out. And the truth always does, because God does not let darkness hide forever. But guilt is only half the battle. Envy is the other. Envy is that sickness that cannot stand to see you smile, cannot bear to watch you rise, cannot handle the sight of you thriving in spite of their attempts to break you. And the more God blesses you, the more their envy burns. It eats away at their joy. It clouds their mind. It robs them of peace. That's why they keep watching you, even when they claim not to care. That's why they bring your name up, even when you've moved on. That's why they can't let you go, even though you've already released them. Because envy shackles the soul. And when God is lifting you, envy becomes their torment. This is why you don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to expose them. You don't need to waste your energy fighting battles that God has already settled. Because their punishment is not in your hands. It is in the way they unravel from the inside out. They cannot escape the mirror. They cannot escape the truth. They cannot escape the fact that while they tried to break you, you stood tall. While they tried to silence you, you found your voice. While they tried to stop you, God kept moving you forward. And nothing drives a person more insane than watching the one they counted out keep rising higher. Think about it. If you had truly been defeated, they would have been satisfied. If you had truly been destroyed, they would have walked away smiling. But the very fact that you survived, the very fact that you are still standing, the very fact that you are still breathing and moving and growing, that is what torments them the most. They don't lose sleep because you failed. They lose sleep because you didn't. They are haunted not by your downfall, but by your resilience. And resilience, when backed by God, becomes a weapon no enemy can stand against. Understand this. When people plot against you, they are not just plotting against flesh and blood. They are plotting against destiny. They are plotting against the purpose God placed inside of you. and you cannot fight destiny and win. That's why they're restless. That's why their soul feels heavy. That's why they are uneasy around you. Because every time they see you, they are reminded that no matter what they did, God's hand is still on your life. And that truth alone is enough to drive anyone insane who wanted to see you fail. Some of you wonder, why are they acting so strange now? Why do they avoid me? Why do they talk about me when I'm not even in their life anymore? Why do they still watch me from a distance? It's because they can't shake it. They can't shake the guilt of what they did, and they can't shake the envy of what you've become. And God allows it. God allows them to feel the full weight of their choices, because his justice is not always loud, but it is always sure. He doesn't have to strike them down with thunder. Sometimes he lets their own thoughts become their torment. And while they are tormented, God is elevating you. While they are restless, God is giving you peace. While they are losing sleep, God is giving you rest. Because the tables have turned, and the one they tried to bury is now the one God is blessing. That is the power of divine justice. It doesn't always happen in an instant, but it always happens on time. God sees what you endured, and he sees what they did. And when he begins to prepare that table before you, he doesn't hide it. He lets them watch. He lets them see that their envy couldn't stop your purpose, their guilt couldn't erase your destiny, and their betrayal couldn't break your spirit. So don't be discouraged when people plot against you. Don't lose faith when they betray you. Don't give in when they try to tear you down. Because the truth is, you don't have to lift a hand. You don't have to waste your words. You don't have to fight the way they fight. God fights for you in silence. And when God fights for you, the victory is not just in your survival, it's in their unraveling. Their guilt will eat at them. Their envy will drain them. Their bitterness will choke them. And all the while, you will rise. Never forget, God is watching. He sees the brokenness you endured, and he sees the wickedness they hid. And the very thing they thought would break you has only revealed the strength inside you. That's why they can't stand it. That's why their own soul is at war. That's why they are going insane. Because the God who lifted you is the same God who lets their guilt and envy consume them. And when it's all said and done, you will have peace. You will have joy. You will have victory. Not because you fought harder, but because you trusted deeper. Not because you struck back, but because you stood still and let God move. And the most powerful thing you can do is keep walking, keep rising, keep thriving, while God lets them crumble under the weight of their own choices. So remember this: their guilt is their prison, their envy is their torment, and their madness is their judgment. But your peace, your blessings, and your rise are God's reward for your faith. They thought they had the last laugh, but God always writes the final chapter. And in that chapter, you don't just win, you stand victorious while they fall apart, because God is watching them go insane. God exposes hidden intentions. There comes a time in life when you realize that not everyone smiling at you is for you. Not every hand extended to help is clean. Not every voice speaking kind words is sincere. Some people walk with you, but only because they want to study your steps. Some people cheer for you, but deep down they're hoping for your fall. They pretend to love you, but their heart is plotting against you. And here's the truth. You don't always see it. You don't always catch it. You don't always know who's real and who's wearing the mask. But God does. God sees what you cannot. God hears what you don't. God knows the thoughts they hide, and he has a way of pulling back the curtain, of stripping away the disguise, of exposing the hidden intentions that others try to bury. People think they can hide behind smiles, They think they can cover their motives with sweet words. They think they can cloak their envy with false support. But God is never fooled. He discerns the heart. He weighs the spirit. And when the time is right, he exposes them for exactly who they are. That's why you've seen people reveal themselves without warning. That's why certain relationships suddenly collapse. That's why some friendships fall apart overnight. It's not random. It's divine exposure. God won't let you walk blind into betrayal. He won't let you be deceived forever. He lets the mask slip so you know exactly who you're dealing with. Think about it. When Judas betrayed Jesus, he had walked with him for years. He had eaten with him, laughed with him, prayed with him. To everyone else, Judas looked like a disciple. But God knew the heart. And when the time came, Judas couldn't hide anymore. His greed, his betrayal, his disloyalty, they all came to the surface. That's what God does. He allows time to separate the genuine from the fake. He lets the truth rise, no matter how deeply it's been buried. So don't be shaken when people reveal themselves. Don't be discouraged when the mask comes off. Don't cry when people walk away after showing their true colors. That's not rejection, that's protection. God is simply exposing what was always there, so you don't carry dead weight into your destiny. He's saving you from greater pain down the road by showing you the truth now. What hurts in the moment is what heals you in the future. Some of you wonder, why didn't I see it sooner? Why didn't I recognize their true intentions? It's because God sometimes allows people to hide until the exact moment their exposure will serve his purpose. If you had seen it earlier, you might have reacted in anger. If you had caught it too soon, you might have fought the wrong battle. But God allows them to dig their own hole, to weave their own web, to set their own trap, until the very moment it collapses. Not on you, but on them. That's divine justice. Understand this. What people plot in secret, God exposes in the light. The lies whispered behind closed doors, the schemes planned in the shadows, the envy dressed up as friendship. None of it escapes his eyes. He doesn't just hear your prayers, he hears their whispers. He doesn't just see your struggles, he sees their plots. And when he chooses to reveal it, he does it in a way that cannot be denied. The same people who thought they fooled you end up exposing themselves without you saying a word. That's why you don't need to waste energy proving who someone really is. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops. You don't need to defend yourself against every rumor, every lie, every false accusation. Because when God exposes, it speaks louder than your words ever could. When he pulls off the mask, even the blind can see. Even those who doubted you will recognize the truth. And that exposure isn't just for you. It's for everyone watching. But here's the beauty of it. While God exposes their intentions, he also reveals your strength. He shows that you didn't need their false support to rise. He shows that you weren't dependent on their approval to succeed. He shows that their betrayal didn't stop your blessing. Because when the mask slips and people fall away, it only clears the path for your elevation. Their departure is not your downfall, it's your release. This is why some people can't stand to be around you anymore. They know their intentions have been exposed. They know you see them differently now. They know you've recognized the truth, and that truth makes them uncomfortable, because exposure brings shame. Exposure brings regret. Exposure brings the weight of being seen for who they truly are. That's why they avoid you. That's why they lash out. That's why they act strangely. It's not because you changed. It's because God revealed them. And here's the part that drives them insane. Once God exposes someone's true intentions, they can never go back to hiding. No matter how hard they try, the mask won't fit the same. You'll always see them for who they are. The relationship will never be the same. The trust will never return. And the more they try to pretend, the more obvious it becomes. That's God's justice in action. He doesn't just reveal the truth once, he keeps it in plain sight so you never fall for the lie again. So don't grieve too long when exposure happens. Don't dwell on the hurt of betrayal. Don't cling to what God has already revealed to be false, because exposure is a gift, even when it feels like pain. It is God's way of clearing your vision, sharpening your discernment, and protecting your destiny. It may feel like loss, but in reality, it's gain. You're losing deception, and you're gaining clarity. You're losing fake love, and you're gaining real peace. You're losing dead weight, and you're gaining the freedom to rise higher. Remember this: God sees it all. He sees the masks, the lies, the jealousy, the hidden motives, and in His perfect timing, He will reveal it. He doesn't reveal to embarrass you. He reveals to protect you. He doesn't expose to destroy you. He exposes to elevate you. Because when the truth comes out, your enemies have no power, your doubters have no voice, and your destiny has no obstacles. So keep walking with faith, keep trusting God's timing, keep your peace when others play their games. Because sooner or later, the mask will slip, the lies will crumble, the hidden intentions will be laid bare, and when that happens, you'll see that what you thought was rejection was really God's redirection. What you thought was betrayal was really God's protection, and what you thought was a setback was really God clearing the stage for your rise. And when the dust settles, you'll stand stronger, wiser, freer, because God is watching, and He always exposes the truth. Your silence is your strength. There comes a point in life when you realize that not every battle is meant to be fought with words, not every attack requires a response, and not every accusation deserves your energy. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is silence. Because silence is not weakness, it is strength. Silence is not surrender, it is strategy. When you keep your peace, you give God the space to fight battles you cannot. And while your enemies are loud, restless, and desperate for a reaction, your silence drives them insane. See, people expect you to defend yourself. They expect you to argue, to fight, to lash back. They throw dirt on your name, hoping you'll roll in the mud with them. They spread lies, waiting for you to waste your breath correcting them. They stir chaos, wanting you to meet them on their level. But when you refuse to respond, when you refuse to give them the satisfaction of your attention, you rob them of their power, because nothing disarms an enemy faster than realizing their attacks have no effect on you. Understand this: your silence is not empty. Your silence is filled with faith. It's filled with trust in God's timing. It's filled with the confidence that you don't need to explain yourself to people who are determined not to understand you. You don't need to prove your worth to people who never wanted to see it. You don't need to shout the truth when God Himself is the one who will reveal it. That's why silence is so powerful, because it shows that your confidence comes from above, not from the approval of man. But let's be real, silence is not easy. It takes discipline not to clap back. It takes strength not to defend yourself when lies are spreading. It takes courage to stay still when everything in you wants to fight. But here's the truth: your silence speaks louder than your words ever could. Your silence tells them, you don't control me, you don't shake me, you don't get to dictate how I move. Your silence is your protest. Your silence is your resistance. Your silence is your shield. Think of it like this: when Jesus was betrayed, mocked, and brought before His accusers, He stayed silent. He didn't waste His breath arguing with those who already made up their minds. He didn't lower Himself to meet their hatred with anger. He stayed silent because He knew who He was. He knew His truth. He knew His Father would handle the rest. That silence wasn't weakness, it was strength. And that same power is available to you. When you stay silent, you allow your life to speak. You allow your actions, your growth, your blessings to be your response. And nothing frustrates an enemy more than watching you thrive while refusing to acknowledge their noise. They want you distracted. They want you dragged into endless arguments. They want you drained of your peace. But when you stay silent, you rise above their chaos, and they are left wrestling with their own madness. And make no mistake, your silence will expose them. Because when you refuse to engage, they are forced to reveal themselves. They will talk louder, plot harder, dig deeper, but all they're really doing is showing the world who they are. Your silence becomes their mirror, reflecting their own bitterness, their own lies, their own jealousy. While they unravel, you stay grounded. While they shout, you stay still. And that contrast alone makes the truth undeniable. Some of you need to hear this today. You don't need to respond to every attack. You don't need to defend yourself on every front. You don't need to waste your energy explaining your heart to people committed to misunderstanding you. Because your silence is not abandonment of the fight, it's handing the fight over to God. And He fights in ways you never could. He exposes lies, reveals truth, and brings justice in His timing. Yes, people may call you weak, they may say you're scared, they may mock you for not speaking up, but let them talk. Because while they're busy talking, God is busy working. And when He finishes, your silence will be vindicated. Your silence will be the proof that you trusted Him when others doubted. Your silence will be the evidence that you believed in something greater than yourself. There's something else about silence. It protects your peace. Every word you waste on someone who doesn't deserve it drains your energy. Every argument you step into steals your joy. Every clapback you deliver distracts you from your purpose. But when you stay silent, you keep your focus, you keep your strength, you keep your spirit unbothered. And nothing drives people crazier than watching someone they tried to break remain unshaken. And here's the beauty of it. Your silence doesn't mean God is silent. Just because you're still doesn't mean He's not moving. Just because you're quiet doesn't mean He's not working. In fact, your silence gives Him the room to do what only He can do. While you're silent, He's exposing. While you're silent, He's elevating. While you're silent, He's preparing a table for you in the presence of those same enemies who thought they silenced you. So stop thinking silence makes you look weak. Silence makes you look wise. Silence makes you look strong. Silence makes you look untouchable. And the truth is, you are untouchable, not because of your strength, but because of God's. And when you understand that, you realize you don't need to shout to prove it. You just need to walk in it. Let me tell you this. Your silence today is building your testimony tomorrow. The very people laughing at your stillness will be shocked when God reveals what He was doing all along. The ones who thought you were defeated will realize you were just waiting on divine timing. And the ones who thought you had no voice will see your silence was louder than their noise. So the next time someone tries to bait you into a fight, remember this. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. The next time someone slanders your name, remember this. Silence is not surrender, it's trust. The next time someone tries to drag you into chaos, remember this. Your silence is your strength, and it is driving them insane. Because here's the truth. The louder they talk, the clearer they reveal themselves. And the quieter you are, the stronger you become. Your silence is your shield. Your silence is your weapon. Your silence is your victory. And while they go insane trying to pull you into their storm, you will stand still in peace, knowing that God is fighting your battles, God is exposing their lies, and God is lifting you higher than their noise could ever reach. That's the power of silence. That's the power of strength. That's the power of God moving in your stillness. The battlefield belongs to the Lord. Life will always bring battles, conflicts you didn't ask for, wars you didn't start, and struggles you didn't see coming. There are people who will try to tear you down, situations that will try to break you, and circumstances designed to make you quit. But here's the truth you must carry in your spirit. The battlefield does not belong to you. It belongs to the Lord. You are not fighting alone. You are not standing in your own strength. You are not defending yourself with your own power. When people come against you, when storms rise against you, when enemies plot against you, they are not just fighting you. They are fighting the God who protects you. And no one has ever fought against God and won. See, the enemy always thinks he has the upper hand. He thinks his schemes will succeed. He thinks his weapons will prosper. He thinks his whispers and lies will destroy you. But the word declares that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. It doesn't say the weapons won't form. It doesn't say the battles won't come. It doesn't say the enemy won't try, but it promises that whatever is formed, whatever is designed, whatever is plotted, it will not succeed, because the battlefield belongs to the Lord. And this is what drives your enemies insane. They throw everything at you. They attack your name, your character, your peace, your spirit. They expect you to collapse, to fold, to give up, but instead you're still standing. Instead, you're still moving forward. Instead, you're still blessed. Not because you fought harder, but because God fought for you. He stood in front of you, beside you, behind you. He shielded you from arrows you didn't even see. He turned attacks meant to destroy you into testimonies that lifted you. And the very battles they thought would break you became the evidence that God was fighting on your behalf. Think of David facing Goliath. To everyone watching, the battle looked impossible. David was small. Goliath was massive. David had no armor. Goliath had a sword, a spear, a shield. By every earthly measure, David should have lost. But David wasn't fighting with his own strength. He declared the battle is the Lord's. And with one stone, guided by God, the giant fell. That's the same power fighting for you. That's the same God standing on your battlefield. And just like David, you will see giants fall that looked unbeatable, enemies scatter that looked unshakable, and victories come from battles you were never supposed to win. This is why you don't need to exhaust yourself fighting in the flesh. You don't need to argue with every liar. You don't need to retaliate against every betrayal. You don't need to swing at every shadow. Because your fight is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces. And those forces are no match for the one who already conquered them. So the wisest thing you can do is surrender the battlefield to God. Let him fight where your fists can't reach. Let him speak where your words fall short. Let him move where your strength runs out. Because when you step back, he steps in. And when he steps in, victory is guaranteed. But here's the part that unsettles your enemies. When they realize they're not fighting you, they're fighting God. That's why their plans fail. That's why their lies don't stick. That's why their attacks backfire. Because they thought they were wrestling with flesh, but they ran into the spirit of the living God. And he does not lose battles. He does not retreat. He does not surrender. So when they plot against you, they are plotting against his hand. When they rise against you, they are rising against his purpose. And when they strike against you, they are striking against his promise. That's why they always fall. That's why they always unravel. That's why they go insane trying to figure out why nothing works against you. You see, when you walk with God, you carry divine protection. You carry favor that can't be explained. You carry strength that can't be broken. That doesn't mean you won't face storms. That doesn't mean you won't have enemies. That doesn't mean you won't walk through fire. But it does mean that none of it will destroy you. The Red Sea may rise, but it will part. The fire may burn, but you will walk through without a scratch. The lions may roar, but their mouths will be shut, because when the battlefield belongs to God, nothing formed against you can take you down. And listen, sometimes God allows the battle to intensify, not to destroy you, but to reveal his power. Sometimes he lets enemies gather just so he can scatter them in plain sight. Sometimes he lets the odds stack up against you just so his victory is undeniable. That's why you can't panic when the battle looks overwhelming. That's why you can't give up when the fight gets heavy, because God does his best work in impossible situations. When you've reached the end of yourself, that's when he shows himself strong. Some of you are carrying battles right now. Battles in your family, battles in your finances, battles in your mind, battles with people who want to see you fail. And you've been trying to fight in your own strength, trying to figure it out, trying to carry it on your back. But God is saying, this battle is not yours, it's mine. Step back and let me handle it, because the weight that is crushing you is nothing to him. The enemy that intimidates you is nothing to him. The problem that looks unsolvable is nothing to him. And when he steps onto the battlefield, everything changes. That's why you've survived things that should have killed you. That's why you've overcome storms that should have drowned you. That's why you're still standing when others thought you'd fall. Because the Lord was fighting for you when you didn't even realize it. He was blocking arrows you never saw. He was shielding you from dangers you never knew about. He was winning battles on your behalf before you even prayed. And now, looking back, you can see his fingerprints all over your survival. And make no mistake, God isn't finished. The same God who fought for you before will fight for you again. The same God who silenced your enemies before will silence them again. The same God who lifted you before will lift you again. Because he doesn't just fight one battle, he fights every battle. He doesn't just show up once, he shows up every time. And every time, he wins. So hold your peace. Keep your faith. Stay in your lane. Don't let the noise of the battlefield shake you. Don't let the threats of the enemy move you. Don't let the storm make you forget who stands with you. Because when God is on the field, victory is already written. Your enemies may rage, but they will fall. The weapons may form, but they won't prosper. The battle may roar, but it belongs to the Lord. And when it's over, you won't just come out victorious, you'll come out stronger, wiser, freer, because every battle that God wins for you becomes another testimony, another reminder, another reason to stand tall. And your enemies, they will be left confused, defeated, and broken because they thought they were fighting you, but they were really fighting him. And no one fights God and walks away sane. Elevation exposes their weakness. When God lifts you, they break down. When God begins to lift you, not everyone will celebrate. Some will clap for you in public, but secretly they will question, why not me? Others will smile, but behind that smile hides jealousy, bitterness, and anger. What you must understand is that your elevation does not create their weakness, it exposes it. The very blessings that were meant to bring you joy become a mirror that reveals their envy, their insecurity, and the darkness they tried to keep hidden. And when God raises you higher, those who once looked down on you can no longer hide their true feelings. They go insane, not because you failed, but because you rose. Elevation is never just about going higher. It's about God showing the difference between those who truly stand with you and those who only stood beside you because they thought you would remain beneath them. When you start walking into blessings they cannot touch, doors they cannot open, and opportunities they cannot block, their mask begins to slip. Suddenly, the same people who pretended to support you start questioning your worth, doubting your path, and whispering against you. Why? Because your success shines a light on their lack of growth. Your faith exposes their fear. Your peace reveals their chaos, and your victory reminds them of their defeat. Do not be surprised when the very ones you helped climb try to pull you back down. Do not be shocked when the ones you encouraged suddenly turn cold. They were never with you for your journey. They were only comfortable when you were beneath them. But the moment God's hand lifts you higher, the balance shifts and their comfort shatters. What drives them insane is not your blessing, it's their inability to stop it. What drives them insane is not your blessing, it's their inability to stop it. They realize that all their gossip, all their schemes, and all their jealousy couldn't keep God's hand off your life. And when man's plan collides with God's will, it is man who loses. Every single time. Understand this, your elevation is spiritual warfare. Every time you rise, you are a walking testimony that their words didn't work. Their betrayal didn't destroy you, and their hatred didn't stop God's plan. And that truth eats at them. It burns in their chest like fire they cannot put out. They cannot understand how you survived storms they thought would sink you. They cannot comprehend how you smile after pain that should have broken you. They cannot explain how doors opened for you without their permission. That confusion becomes their torment. They go insane because the blessing they swore you would never see has your name written on it, and they can't do anything to erase it. But here is the beauty. God elevates not just to bless you, but to reveal hearts. Sometimes you wonder why he places you in certain positions, why he gives you more than you ask for, why he moves you into rooms that once rejected you. It's not just for you. It's for them to see that his hand is on you. Your elevation becomes the evidence of his glory. And while you are stepping into favor, they are stepping into frustration. They try to figure out how to bring you down, but every attempt backfires. They try to understand your strength, but it only leaves them more confused. Their weakness was always there. Your rise only uncovered it. Do not lower yourself to make them comfortable. Do not dim your light so they can feel at ease in the dark. God didn't lift you to hide. He lifted you so his glory could shine through you. Your blessings are not just for you. They are a reminder to everyone watching that God rewards faith, perseverance, and obedience. If they cannot handle your rise, let them break. If they cannot celebrate your success, let them sit in their envy. Do not carry guilt for what God freely gave you, because the same God who elevated you is the same God who will deal with their jealousy. Some people think their bitterness is hidden, but their actions will always expose them. You'll notice their silence when others celebrate you. You'll notice their absence when you achieve milestones. You'll notice their sudden distance when God moves in your life. That silence is louder than their words. It tells you everything you need to know. And while they are losing sleep, replaying your success in their minds like a tormenting movie, you are resting in peace because God is the author of your story. What drives them insane is that they cannot stop the chapters he keeps writing for you. Every elevation comes with a separation. God doesn't allow everyone to go with you because not everyone can handle where he's taking you. Some people were never meant to sit at the table God prepared for you. They were meant to watch from a distance, to see what happens when his favor rests on a life they tried to destroy. And the higher you go, the fewer hands can reach you. Their bitterness, their jealousy, their gossip, it all falls short. They thought they had power, but elevation proves they were powerless all along. So walk tall in your blessing. Do not shrink in your calling. Do not apologize for the doors God opened. Let them whisper, let them plot, let them envy. For every word they speak against you, God will raise you higher. For every trap they set, God will turn it into a stepping stone. For every attempt to block you, God will show them that no man can close what he has opened. Their weakness is not your burden to carry. It is their own reflection eating them alive. And when they see you standing strong, smiling, walking in victory, they will realize their true enemy was never you. Their true enemy was their own envy, their own pride, their own inability to accept that God chose you for this path. That's why they go insane. It's not your blessing that destroys them, it's their bitterness in the face of your blessing. And while they waste energy trying to understand you, you will continue to rise. Because when God lifts you, no one can bring you down.